In the dark, I clung to my husband, burning with passion. "Do you like it?" I specially asked someone to teach me. His already ragged breathing suddenly grew heavier, and that hand that had never dared to touch me finally brushed the back of my neck. My heart surged with excitement. But a voice, my husband's, suddenly came from outside the door. "My lord, the night pearl is here." My movements, teasing his lips and tongue in slow, lingering strokes, froze in an instant. My blood turned to ice in my veins. Shen Yanhuai was outside. Then who was the man beneath me at this moment? It had been a month since Shen Yanhuai and I married, yet he still refused to face me in our bedchamber. Every day he left early and returned late, claiming to be swamped with official business. On the rare nights he came to my room, he would loiter in the study until midnight, then turn and fall asleep, excusing himself with tiredness. This couldn't go on forever. I decided to take the initiative. After secretly seeking out a tutor to learn all the tricks, I changed into the cool, delicate robe I'd prepared specially, and slipped toward the study under the cover of night. The courtyard was silent, not a single guard posted outside the door. A thrill of joy rose in my heart as I pushed the door open gently and stepped in. Then I froze stiff. By the faint glow of the moon, I could make out a figure sitting at the desk. "There you are, why not light a lamp?" "You scared me half to death." Shen Yanhuai said nothing. I thought nothing of it. At night, Shen Yanhuai was always so distant. I shut the door and walked straight toward him. The room grew darker the further I went, yet I found my way to his side without a single misstep, not giving him a chance to refuse. I slipped off my cloak in one fluid motion, and pressed my body against his, though I'd memorized all the techniques I'd learned until they were second nature. Putting them into practice was another matter entirely. Still, my heart raced with elation, because tonight, Shen Yanhuai was giving me the time of day. He neither dodged nor pushed me away. Compared to his usual resistance, being allowed this close was a huge step forward. I straddled his lap, kissing him clumsily, my teeth even nipping his lips by accident in my fumbling. A low hum escaped the man's lips, a sound that should have been one of pain, yet it was twisted and alluring. A forbidden temptation. My face flared bright red. Thankfully, the darkness hid it from Shen Yanhuai's eyes. I temporarily abandoned his warm, soft lips, lowering my head to kiss his Adam's apple. This time, Shen Yanhuai's reaction was even more obvious. His voice was hoarse, strained with restraint. His Adam's apple rolled beneath my lips, a swallow audible. His body, wrapped in my arms, tensing even more, hardening, too, yet he still refused to respond to me. His hands clutching the armrests of the round chair tightly, unwilling to wrap around my waist. He thinks he can hold out. Unfortunately for him, I wasn't leaving this room until I got what I wanted tonight. Recalling the tricks I'd learned, I looped my arm around Shen Yanhuai and licked his earlobe softly. My warm breath fanned over his skin as I whispered, "Do you like it? I asked someone to teach me all this." His already ragged breathing suddenly grew even more labored, and that stubborn hand that had refused to touch me finally rested on the back of my neck. I was overcome with excitement, kissing him back with equal passion, but I noticed his kissing skills were no better than mine. Could it be he was a virgin too? No wonder he'd always refused to consummate our marriage. Growing flustered every time I drew near, he was just shy and embarrassed. That made sense. He was so kind to me during the day. His coldness at night must have had a reason. Guessing the truth. A secret joy bubbled in my heart, and I kissed him even more passionately, my tongue growing far more agile than before. I slid my hand deep into the front of Shen Yanhuai's robe, ready to turn up the heat, when a sharp knock sounded at the door. Then a respectful voice called out, "My lord, the night pearl is here." I'd been teasing his lips and tongue in slow, deep strokes, but at the sound of that voice, I froze completely, my blood turning to ice in an instant. It was Shen Yanhuai's voice. Shen Yanhuai was outside. Then who was the man beneath me at this moment? 2. I pulled away from his lips in a frenzy, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst, daring not make another move, afraid of being discovered by Shen Yanhui outside. I forced myself to stay calm, yet my body trembled uncontrollably. Beneath me, that burning hot hand still rested on my bare back. The man patted me twice in a silent gesture of comfort, then called out to the outside, "Hand it to Liu Yun. And bring me a cup of tea." His voice was low, giving no hint of his emotions. Liu Yun, wasn't that the name of the Prime Minister's personal bodyguard? That faintly familiar voice, could it be Pei Suchen? At once, Shen Yanhui replied respectfully, and his footsteps faded away. As soon as the sound was distant, I scrambled off the man's lap, my legs buckling beneath me as I stumbled toward the floor. Careful, a large hand shot out to steady me. I righted myself, grabbing the cloak from the desk and wrapping it clumsily around my body, stammering out an explanation in a small voice. "I thought you were Yanhui. I never meant to offend you, my lord." Damn it, I was the one who'd been offended here, to have such a thing happen in someone else's home. And the man didn't even make a sound. My innocence. I thought Lord Shun had sent a maid to attend me. I'd tried to play dumb, and he'd gone and revealed his identity himself, and that sudden coldness in his voice. So it was just Lady Shun, mistaking me for someone else. His tone dripped with unspoken sarcasm. I clenched my fists tightly and begged in a small voice. "It was all a misunderstanding. I beg you, Prime Minister, for my grandfather's sake, pretend this never happened." Pei Suchen said nothing. The darkness pressed down on me, thick and suffocating, and anxiety gnawed at me. Shen Yanhui would be back soon. "Prime Minister, Liu Yun, see Lady Shen back to her quarters." His voice was cold as ice, sharp as shards of glass. I cowered, daring not say another word. 3. Lying in bed, shame, chagrin, guilt, a whirlwind of emotions washed over me, leaving me tossing and turning, unable to find peace. 2/4 of an hour later, Zhu Yu, my personal maid who'd married with me, came to report, "Miss." A servant from the young lord's side sent word, "The Prime Minister is at the mansion, so the young lord won't be coming to the inner courtyard tonight." Shen Yanhui was the heir to the Marquis of Qingyang. Half a year ago, I'd been abducted by villains at the Lantern Festival, and it was Shen Yanhui who'd saved me. That was how I'd fallen for him. Later, Shen Yanhui had sent a matchmaker to ask for my hand. Though my family hadn't been entirely satisfied with him, I'd set my heart on him. And so we'd married a month ago. It was no surprise he wouldn't come tonight, not after he'd avoided consummating our marriage all this time. But my restlessness now had nothing to do with that. When I'd left the study, Pei Suchen had still been furious. Even in the dark, I'd been able to feel his murderous aura. Would he tell Shen Yanhui what had happened? "Zhu Yu, send someone to the gate to keep watch. Tell me the moment the Prime Minister leaves." In the end, I suffered through an entire night of agony. It wasn't until dawn broke that a servant came to report the young lord and the Prime Minister had left for the palace together to attend the court assembly. A huge weight lifted from my chest. It seemed Pei Suchen had indeed spared my grandfather's feelings. Who on earth spread the rumor that Pei Suchen had no interest in women? It was utter nonsense. 4. At noon, I was resting with my eyes closed, when a maid came to report, the young lord was here. Zhu Yu looked at my tired face and spoke in a comforting tone. "The young lord comes to dine with you every day. He truly cares for you, miss. Why not be a little more patient?" I knew Zhu Yu had misunderstood. She thought I'd had someone watch for the Prime Minister's departure. Because I'd been hoping Shen Yanhui would come to me last night, I didn't bother explaining to her, just rose to my feet and walked toward the outer room. Ever since we'd married, Shen Yanhui had dined with me at least once every day, giving me the respect I deserved in front of the servants. He'd been attentive to my every need, in food and clothing and all things, except for one. Shen Yanhui sat down across from me and strike up a conversation on his own initiative. You look a little worn out. Did you not sleep well last night? Meeting his probing gaze, I felt a twinge of guilt and averted my eyes. I had a nightmare. Seeing the concern in his eyes as he prepared to ask more, I quickly changed the subject. A servant from the storeroom said you used the night pearl last night. Shen Yanhui paused, then smiled. The Prime Minister's eyes can't stand the flickering of candlelight. I fetched the night pearl for him. What's wrong with his eyes? He was betrayed by a villain during the war with Nanjiao, and poisoned, which injured his eyes. I frowned. Will he recover, even after what had happened last night? It would be a tragedy for a man as brilliant and talented as him to go blind. Shen Yanhui placed a piece of fish, all bones picked clean, on my plate. Before speaking, he still needs to rest for half a month before he heals completely. I ate the fish from my bowl, not wanting to snub him, then asked the question that had been plaguing me all night. I heard the Prime Minister wasn't supposed to return from the border until the Mid-Autumn Festival. Why is he back 3 months early? I have no idea. Perhaps he settled all affairs at the border ahead of schedule, and came back specially to recuperate. Shen Yanhui finished speaking and stared straight at me, a hint of confusion in his eyes. Why are you so curious about the Prime Minister's affairs? My heart skipped a beat, but I kept my expression calm. Smiling as I said, the Prime Minister visited last night. He might intend to promote you. Naturally, I want to pay close attention. Shen Yanhui laughed too. You're right. The Prime Minister and I played chess all night yesterday. Before he left, he said he'd hold a flower banquet at the Prime Minister's mansion in half a month, and invited me to bring you with me. I was about to ask what kind of flowers would be in bloom, planning to find an excuse to decline, when Shen Yanhui's young servant came in and reported, Master Rong was here to see him. Shen Yanhui set down his chopsticks slowly, and spoke to me in a gentle voice. Qingji, take your time eating. I'll go see him. I set down my chopsticks too. You haven't eaten much. Go after you finish. It's fine. I'm not hungry. As he reached the door, Shen Yanhui turned back to me and said, I had a golden hairpin made for you at the Wanbao Pavilion. I'll fetch it for you tomorrow. I'd lost my appetite anyway. When Shen Yanhui left, I ordered the servants to clear away the lunch. Zhuyu brought me the sachet I'd been embroidering, and finally couldn't hold back her complaint. Miss. Master Rongchuan has come to visit more than 20 times in a single month. People say he's a man of great talent, but is he nothing more than a bookworm? How can he be so clueless about the ways of the world? You and the young lord are newlyweds, yet he has no sense of propriety at all. I stared at the vivid gardenias embroidered on the sachet. You're right about that. I could understand why Rongchuan was so eager to curry favor with Shen Yanhui, to establish himself in the capital. But he always seemed to be deliberately interrupting Shen Yanhui and me when we were together. Then I cannot abide it. 5. The Prime Minister's mansion held a gardenia flower banquet. Because of my name, I have loved gardenias since I was a child. Today, the garden was filled with gardenias. Diluting my nervousness, Shen Yanhui went to the male guests, and I sipped tea and admired the flowers with the ladies and madams. How can the Prime Minister's mansion have so many varieties of gardenias? I heard Prime Minister Pei spent several years collecting them. Prime Minister Pei likes gardenias. I've never heard of it. Ah, I know this. 2 years ago, my father came to the Prime Minister's mansion once, and chanced upon Guard Luyun reporting to Prime Minister Pei, saying that the gardenia tree Prime Minister Pei had someone look for, had been placed in the Yuhe courtyard. When my father left, he also overheard from a servant of the mansion by chance that the main courtyard where Prime Minister Pei lives is named Yuhe Courtyard. Think about it, the other name for gardenia is Jade Lotus. Prime Minister Pei named his residence Yuhe Courtyard, and also specially had someone search for gardenias. It's clear how much he loves them. I never knew Prime Minister Pei had such a hobby. Perhaps, Prime Minister Pei didn't want to give his subordinates a chance to curry favor with him, so he hid it tightly on purpose. That makes sense. But why is it public now? He even held a flower banquet directly. Now the whole country will know. Who knows? Prime Minister Pei's thoughts. How can we guess them? I sat aside and listened to their chat, thinking that I had known Pei Suchen for so many years, yet never knew he shared the same hobby as me. He hid it so well. Pei Suchen once studied at Qingsong Academy. My grandfather was the dean of Qingsong Academy, and he loved Pei Suchen especially. He often taught him personally on weekdays. Even after Pei Suchen topped the imperial examination and entered the court, he still came to the Yi mansion to visit grandfather from time to time. I have been close to grandfather since I was a child, so I often met him at grandfather's place, but Pei Suchen was a cold and distant man, with an air of estrangement about him. I was lively by nature, and besides, Pei Suchen was a few years older than me. I always felt ill at ease in front of him, so I usually left in a hurry after greeting him. But what happened that night? I drank another cup of tea, and finally Zhu Yu came back and whispered in my ear, "This servant has found out clearly. Prime Minister Pei just went to the water pavilion. You stay here. I'll go ask the Prime Minister about his arrangements for the young lord and be right back." I walked to the water pavilion alone. Zhu Yu was reliable, but she couldn't keep a secret. If she found out what happened between Pei Suchen and me that night, Shen Yanhui might notice something wrong at any time. 6. I waited at the water pavilion for a while. Not only Pei Suchen, but not even a single servant was in sight. I thought I must have missed him. I turned back by another road, unexpectedly meeting Pei Suchen at the rockery. I stepped forward pretending to be natural. "Prime Minister Pei is here, looking for me." Pei Suchen's eyes were too deep. I dared not meet his gaze. I specially came to apologize to Prime Minister Pei. What happened that night was a misunderstanding. Please pretend it never happened, and don't tell anyone else about it. Lady Shen's apology doesn't seem very sincere. I looked up in astonishment. What does Prime Minister Pei mean by that? Heaven can testify. I have never been so sincere even when praying to Buddha. Pei Suchen glanced at me casually. Is Lady Shen's apology only verbal? Where is the gift of atonement? I breathed a sigh of relief. It's inconvenient today. I'll have someone send it to the Prime Minister's mansion tomorrow. Letting someone else send it. It seems you're still not sincere. What did he mean? Did he want me to come in person? Was this some kind of glorious good deed? This man was never so difficult to talk to before, just because I molested him. I was still thinking about how to persuade him, when I was suddenly shrouded in shadow. The faint and familiar elegant fragrance of gardenias hit me suddenly. I looked up abruptly. Pei Suchen was only a foot away from me. His pitilessly handsome face made me forget my resistance to him for a moment. The corner of Pei Suchen's mouth curled up slightly. His eyes were as bright as stars. "How about you give me your sachet as a gift of atonement?" I came to my senses, and was about to step back, when Pei Suchen suddenly put his index finger to his lips to signal silence. "Shen Yanhui is coming." I was shocked, a man and a woman alone in such a remote place. If Shen Yanhui saw us, it would be hard to explain. I was about to hide behind the rockery, when Pei Suchen took my hand and walked quickly towards the back of the rockery. "Come with me." I hadn't even seen which stone on the rockery Pei Suchen touched, when a hole appeared in the rockery in front of me. Pei Suchen pulled me into the cave. He closed the cave door, and the cave dimmed. My sense of smell and hearing were amplified in an instant. Pei Suchen's aura hit me again. Different from the sweet fragrance of gardenias on me, his body only had a faint clear fragrance, no sweetness. But it was still extremely pleasant. After a while, footsteps came from behind the rockery. I secretly rejoiced. Fortunately there was this hiding cave. 7. I held my breath, and a suppressed and angry voice came. "You haven't seen me for half a month, yet you gave her a golden hairpin, and you go everywhere together to attend the flower banquet. Could it be that you really have a crush on her? It was Rongchuan. I frowned. He was talking about me to Shen Yanhuai. But what did this mean? The next moment, Shen Yanhuai answered my doubts. Jealous. You know I can never like her. Shen Yanhuai's voice was full of tenderness. You are the only one I love. Stop thinking nonsense all day. I was struck dumb. I even didn't react for a moment. I only heard Rongchuan snort coldly and question. For a whole half a month, she wouldn't let you see me, and you really didn't come. Now you obey her in everything. Archuan, I miss you too, but she must have sent someone to watch me. We can't let her find out the truth. I haven't consummated the marriage with Yi Qingji for so long after getting married. It has already made her very dissatisfied. If I don't obey her a little more, she is likely to make a fuss. And then if the Yi family forces me, it will be even more troublesome. Besides, she has clearly shown that she dislikes you. I also worry that if I go against her, she will target you. If she hurts you recklessly, my heart will break with pain. There was helplessness in every word Shen Yanhuai said. I felt a surge of nausea, angry and embarrassed. My body trembled with rage. Rongchuan snorted coldly again, but I could tell, the initial anger was gone. Yi Qingji is still alive and kicking. When will the medicine given to her take effect? Shen Yanhuai said. She is loved by Dean Yi. If she dies right after getting married, I can't explain to the Yi family. But don't worry, I watch her take the medicine myself every time. Just endure for a while longer and it will work, Rongchuan said angrily. It's all the fault of those idiots back then. If they hadn't caught the wrong person, how could it be so troublesome? Shen Yanhuai sighed. It's fate. Who let her wear clothes similar to Fang Ruowan that day? When I went to rescue her, I wouldn't have recognized her if I hadn't seen her face. Fang Ruowan, I tried hard to remember. She seemed to be the daughter of Fang Jiren, the 5th-rank official. No wonder he said I was troublesome. If Shen Yanhuai had married Fang Ruowan, it would indeed be easier to handle. After all, he was the heir to the Marquis mansion, even if Fang Ruowan died on the day she married into the Marquis mansion. Fang Jiren wouldn't dare to ask Shen Yanhuai for an explanation. Even if Fang Jiren was unwilling, he couldn't stir up any trouble in front of the Marquis mansion. Shen Yanhuai really had a good plan. However, Shen Yanhuai changed the subject, his voice filled with complacency. Fortunately, the benefits Yi Qingji brings are more than Fang Ruowan. After she dies, I will announce to the outside world that I only love her, and I will never marry again in this life. Then I will not only keep my reputation, the Yi family will also be moved by my deep love for Yi Qingji, and help me in my official career. After a year or two, I will use the same method to keep your reputation, and we can be together forever. He not only plotted against me, but also against the Yi family. I lifted my foot and rushed out. Shen Yanhuai, this disgusting and shameless scoundrel, I want to tear him apart. I had just stepped out 1 foot, when Pei Suchen pulled me back abruptly. I turned my head in anger. Pei Suchen's expression was cold. He whispered to persuade me, "Don't be impulsive first. If you go out and make a fuss now, your reputation will also be ruined, and it will also bring disaster to the Yi family." My lost sanity began to return. Yes, this was the Prime Minister's mansion, and it was still a flower banquet. If people found out that Shen Yanhuai had a homosexual taste, he would be ruined, and I would also be talked about. At that time, the Yi family would definitely stand up for me, and get involved in this quagmire. The Yi family's reputation would also be lost. I took a deep breath and calmed down slowly. Outside, Shen Yanhuai and Rongchuan were still talking, but there was no more valuable information. It was all fantasies about their future. After that, the sound of panting came. I dared not look at Pei Suchen. I only hated that there was no hole in the ground for me to crawl into. Finally, it felt like a lifetime had passed. Shen Yanhuai and Rongchuan parted reluctantly and left. I breathed a heavy sigh of relief in my heart, and cursed their 18 generations of ancestors again. 8. Pei Suchen was the first to break the silence. What do you want to do about this matter? I'll help you. I finally dared to look up at Pei Suchen. His face was full of earnestness. I knew he said this entirely for grandfather's sake. I didn't refuse. Thank you, Prime Minister Pei. I'm afraid I can't handle this matter alone. I was overjoyed that Pei Suchen was willing to help. Please don't tell the Yi family about this matter for the time being. Prime Minister Pei Suchen suddenly smiled. The awkward and condensed atmosphere dissipated in an instant. Secrecy again. Miss Yi, you haven't given me your gift of atonement yet. I just remembered that Pei Suchen wanted my sachet just now. Prime Minister Pei is joking. How can such an insignificant thing be used as a gift of atonement? Oh, then what do you plan to send me? Or rather, what does Miss Yi think I lack? I was lost for words for a moment. Prime Minister Pei, who was second only to the Emperor in the Great Yang Kingdom, what could he possibly lack? Forget it. If Pei Suchen liked this sachet, I'd give it to him. I thought he really liked gardenias, and fell in love with the gardenias on my sachet when he saw it. Fortunately, I hadn't had time to embroider my mark on this sachet yet. It was fine to give it away. Besides, I wore it for the first time today. It was still brand new, and it was presentable enough. Since Prime Minister Pei doesn't dislike it, how could I be stingy? I took off the sachet and handed it to Pei Suchen. However, even if Prime Minister Pei lacks nothing, I will not skimp on the gratitude I owe you. Pei Suchen held up the sachet in his hand. This is more than enough. I no longer felt the same repulsion toward Pei Suchen as before. It turned out he was only cold on the surface, and at heart, he was a kind and warm man. 9. Pei Suchen said he would ask the divine physician who cured his poison to check the toxin in my body. Then he brought me back to the main courtyard of his inner residence, Yuhe Courtyard. I hesitated a little at the gate of Yuhe Courtyard. Prime Minister Pei, is it not a breach of etiquette? The mansion is crowded today. This is the only place no one dares to enter. Pei Suchen's expression was natural. Besides, Yuhe Courtyard is filled with rare gardenia varieties hard to find outside. Are you sure you don't want to admire them, Miss Yi? My wavering steps did not hesitate for a moment after hearing his last words, and I stepped into Yuhe Courtyard. The gardenias here were truly incomparable to those outside. This Yuhe Courtyard is simply a fairyland. The future Prime Minister's wife is truly blessed. Miss Yi, you must be flattering me. I'm not flattering you, Prime Minister. Even if the future Prime Minister's wife does not like gardenias, she will definitely love the exquisite layout of this courtyard alone. After all, in the capital, I had never seen a courtyard decorated so elegantly. Pei Suchen seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, then followed with a sentence, I'm glad you like it. I glanced at Pei Suchen. I never thought he would also have moments of self-doubt. At this moment, Liu Yun brought the divine physician over, and the group sat down in the pavilion in the courtyard. After a thorough diagnosis, the divine physician finally confirmed that the poison in my body was aconitine. This variety of aconitine comes from beyond the Great Wall. When the poison takes effect, it is easily misdiagnosed as wind cold invading the body or heart disease. Even if a doctor suspects aconitine, the antidote will not cure it, and the victim will still die in the end. Before I could speak, Pei Suchen asked before me, do you have the antidote here? The divine physician shook his head. I do not have it here. Then he added, the palace does. Pei Suchen turned to me. Don't worry, leave this matter to me. I nodded. It was a relief to know what poison I had been given. The poison was not yet deep in my system. There was still time for everything. 9. Returning to the Marquis mansion, I stopped Shen Yanhui, who was walking to the study. Suppressing my disgust and hatred, I said, I've been feeling tired these days, and my spirits are low. I want to stay at Fahua Temple for a while to recuperate. A flash of joy quickly crossed Shen Yanhui's eyes when he heard this. Then he said with full concern, have you been worn out from managing the household lately? Should we call a doctor first? No need. Seeing a doctor would mean drinking that bitter medicine again. Fa Temple is quiet and blessed by the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. I might get better soon after recuperating there for a few days. Shen Yanhui pretended to ponder for a moment, then nodded. Very well, but you can't stay too long, at most 3 days. If you don't get better, you have to come back and obediently let the doctor prescribe medicine for you. Understand? Looking at the sincere Shen Yanhui, I sighed inwardly. I had only myself to blame for being deceived. He was just too good at acting. All right, I'll pack my things and leave shortly. This is too hasty. Tomorrow would be fine too. If it weren't for Shen Yanhui and Rongchuan's lingering intimacy today, why would I be in such a hurry to seize the opportunity? Recuperating is always better sooner rather than later. True, then shall I send you off shortly? No need, the journey is not far, nothing will happen. The Prime Minister values you now. You should focus on your official career, then take care on the way. We agreed. Be back by the day after tomorrow at the latest. If you don't come back, I'll come and fetch you in person. Fetch me back to poison me. Don't worry, I definitely will. 10. After arriving at Fa Temple. Upon receiving the news that Rongchuan had entered the Marquis mansion, Pei Suchen cooperated with me in a play, while I was